Hey guys, ExJW still fading here. Just wanted to go ahead and make another video about apostates and how you should view them. This one's mainly for any of the curious Jehovah's Witnesses out there. If you found my video first somehow, well, congratulations. Maybe I can shed some light on who apostates are. I guess most of it will be speaking from my own personal experience, but I know that there's more people out there who are similar to me. First and foremost, I just want to say that apostates are not out there to hurt you. They're not out there to crush your faith. Some of them might be out there to crush your faith, but there's a good bit of us who are out there that don't want to hurt you or do harm to you. We're really only going after the main problem in the organization, which is the governing body. I mentioned this in a prior video where they should be held accountable for the things that they're doing to other people and families, because it's been going on for years now that they've been doing harm to families, the mental harm, the physical harm that they may unknowingly be putting on people, and there has to be an end to it. We all know that they know about the stories that apostates, so-called, are going through and have been through. So many people write them and tell them, hey, I'm having a problem with this. Hey, this happened to me. And they're genuinely looking for an answer. And the governing body doesn't seem to want to answer the question. For those who are witnesses now, I'm assuming you're probably trying to find some information about apostates, but not go too deep into it. And I'm not going to go ahead and tell you a whole bunch of stuff that I have personally learned and why I decided to leave the organization. I mostly just want to shed some light on apostates themselves and how you should view them, because you shouldn't view them as your enemy. Believe it or not, many apostates care about you very, very deeply, much more than the governing body probably does, because they've been in the same situation that you've been in, or you're probably in right now if you're still a Jehovah's Witness. Apostates really just want to be heard. Apostates just want their questions answered. Many people talk about one of probably the most well-known apostates, Ray Victor Franz. Now, Raymond Franz was a governing body member some time ago, and he ended up writing a book about the organization itself as a whole. And in this book, he gave a lot of information and insight into what actually goes on behind closed doors. And none of it, if you read the book, because this is what I was searching for when I first read that book. I was searching for a tone of bitterness, anger, and almost as if someone was looking to do harm to individual people. That's what I was looking for when I read that book. I did not find any of that in that book. That book is written literally to show the things that are harmful in the organization, and to even show that Ray Franz cared so much about everybody in the organization. That's what I gained from that book when I read it. You really saw how much he cared. You could really feel it when you were reading that book. It almost seemed, he even spoke well about the governing body, the same people that I would say treated him pretty poorly. If you read his story in the book, he spoke well about them and said that they weren't even nefarious. Raymond Franz, he really just honestly wanted to do the right thing and just be a good person. And that book was very well written. I also wanted to say about apostates that many witnesses don't understand is that apostates are no different from the people that you meet door to door. Because think about it. Let's say you go out in service and you meet someone at the door. What if this person asks you a question about anything that has to do with Watchtower history, or asked you questions about the governing body that you just couldn't find the answer to? What would you do? Well, you would go ahead and start trying to find the information so that you can go back to that door and then tell them what you found, and probably start a Bible study with them. That would be your aim. At least I hope it would be, because if you're really trying to get people to come into what you deem is the truth, then you would honestly be trying to answer every single question that they ask. And what if those questions are the exact same questions that apostates would ask you? So what really is the difference? Well, I'll tell you, there is no difference. You wouldn't know if the person at the door is an apostate or not. It's not like you go to the door, knock on it, and then the person answers, and then you ask them, hey, are you an apostate, before you speak to them. You wouldn't know if what they're saying is a lie. You wouldn't know if what they're saying is true until you research it first. So going door to door and talking to random people, in my opinion, is no different from talking to an apostate. Apostates would only ask you questions that they once probably had to ask themselves, and they knew themselves deep in their heart that they couldn't find the answer to those questions. I know ExJW, critical thinker, he has this pretty good saying. I don't know if it's his, I don't think he coined it, but he says, I'd rather have questions I can't answer than answers I can't question. And I think that's very powerful, because right now there's a lot of questions that I can't answer, but I'd rather be in the state that I'm in right now than to be a Jehovah's Witness and not be able to ask questions. Because if I were still a witness and I asked all the questions that I have right now, I'm not going to say them, because I don't want to put you in that position to where you'll start looking up a whole bunch of stuff, and then you'll probably come back here and blame me or say something negative about me when I don't know you, and I never told you to look up anything. I don't think you could really blame me for anything. I just wanted to give you some insight on to what an apostate is and how they feel. I always think it's a good idea to hear what the other person has to say on the other side. By ignoring the other side completely, you're shutting off so much information that could be beneficial to you, and you just don't know it. Also, you'll never know if the other person's what they're saying is actually true if you never research it, or at least listen to what they have to say. I'd even like to bring up this other point too. When going out in service, you meet so many people who are in different religions than you are. And you'll talk to them and try to get them to believe in your religion, which is Jehovah's Witnesses. When you're talking to them, don't you have to ask questions to find out what they know first, so that you can then give a good witness? Because if you're not really asking questions and trying to see what they know first, then you can't really tell them anything, because you don't know what they're thinking. You have no idea what's on their mind. Could you imagine, as a Jehovah's Witness, you go out in service and you meet somebody who's a Catholic, and this person who's a Catholic, you have absolutely no idea what they believe. So they start telling you all this stuff about what they believe. And once they tell you all the stuff that they believe and the reason behind it and the scriptures they have, then you can give a good witness and tell them, actually, that's really interesting that you would bring that point out, because here in the scriptures, at this scripture, whatever it may be, it says this. So that contradicts what is being said here, and there's even more information in other scriptures that show that backs this one scripture that I showed to you. It backs this scripture up. The Catholic would then have to reason within themselves, hold on, so let me look at that again. They'll have to reread what they had first shown you, the first scripture they showed you, and then find out the context behind it. And then after a while, the light bulb would turn on, and they just say, oh, well, what you're saying actually is true. Okay, tell me more. So it will require reasoning and research on their part. So witnesses are asking people who are in different religions, who think differently than they do, to research their own religion, to read their Bible, so that they can find out what is actually true and what is said in the Bible. What do you think apostates are doing? Apostates are doing the same thing. The only difference is we're not going to Catholics and everybody else. We're only going to Jehovah's Witnesses. We're going to witnesses. We're asking them a few questions to see what they know. They give us the information. Then we say, that's very interesting, but have you taken a look at this? And then we expect you to research it and then get back to us and then show us what you think is true after researching it. But we don't even get to that point. We can't even get to that point. We can't even talk to you guys. Is that how you do your service? When people are Catholics or anything, you can't talk to them? It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to treat apostates that way, then I guess you have to treat all the other religions that way. Because you can't expect any other religion, person who is religious, who's a Catholic, who's a Buddhist, whatever religion it may be, you can't expect them to go ahead and research when you yourselves don't want to research anything about your own organization. That's a little unfair. I'd argue that's hypocritical as well. If the truth is the truth, then it should stand up to scrutiny, and there's nothing to be fearful of. I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching the video. I hope I was able to shed some light on apostates, how they feel about certain things. Definitely leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Thank you so much for stopping by. You guys have a good one and take care.